What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome into another Department of Hoops pregame show. I'm Matt Modderno. I'm joined here today by Will Clayton. Will, thanks for coming on. No wins yet. I guess just right out of the gate here, let's go predictions. Do the Wizards get on the board here? Do they get a win in the win column yet?
Uh, I think there's a chance they do. I like some of the energy they've had lately, and I think the Hawks are missing a lot of people, but I'm going to play it safe and say no.
I like it. That's probably the smart move. I don't have the odds up for this one, but I would bet that the Hawks are a considerable favorite, especially at home. I think the next game against the Hawks in DC, that's the one where I think the Wizards finally get on the board here. It's just hard to beat the same team 2 times in a row. So one of these two.
Well, I'm showing Hawks right now as 7.5-point favorites over the Wizards.
Okay. That's
honestly
good.
Pretty fair.
Yeah, I'll take that. I mean, that's striking distance. I think our Wizards can do that.
It's not 20, so.
Right, exactly. That's a step in the right direction. So we'll definitely live with that. Before we get too far into this, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside hard iced teas, hard lemonades. You're going to need more and more of them as the season goes on. You can just go get regular Stateside Vodka and drink it straight. If you want to do that too, I would not judge anybody that needs to do that to get through the season. Also brought to you by BetOnline. Basketball fans, it's that time of year again. The NBA is back from opening tip-off to buzzer beaters. Jeez, I've had like 2 beers, so just bear with me, everybody. BetOnline has you covered with the best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting for all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. BetOnline has every stat, matchup breakdown, and live odds to bet on during the game. It's not just the NBA. BetOnline has your favorite odds for everything football, MLB playoffs, NHL, to political props if you're a real sicko and want to do that shit too. Head to the website today or get in on the action with America's trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, we already got our betting out of the way. We talked about it. The Wizards are underdogs. I don't know, man. Well, where are you at so far? Like, I think I was more positive after game 2, but it's going to get old at a certain point this season if they keep losing by 20, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any qualms about it. Like, everybody was kind of going into the season knowing what the deal was. Like, we reset. We were starting 2 rookies on opening night. Like, everybody knows the deal. We're in, nobody wants to say tank mode, but we're in tank mode.
We're in deconstruction mode, right?
Yeah, there we go. That's the PC term that we're looking for. So, so I guess, like, in terms of a win-loss perspective, nothing's that surprising. And I think we're on pace, but there are things worth nitpicking over. There are things, I think we have some little victories, and we have some concerns. My primary concern is, and I think it's most Wizards fans, is Kyle Kuzma. He was arguably our best player last year. And right now, between preseason and these first 2 games, he just has not looked like the same guy. And for someone I know Kuz, I've heard a lot of his interviews. He's a very self-aware guy. I'm kind of interested to see how he may respond to some of that noise, or if there is a response, because there's no way his performances aren't lost on him. And I mean, it's not like he's making or breaking us from winning or losing these games, but it's just kind of shocking to see the fall off from the player he was last season to what he's looking like. And it's still early, but that's my primary concern that I've noticed. What about you?
I think just with that, like, at some point these guys get to where they are because they don't take no for an answer, right? Like, they're stubborn. Something's not working. It's like, no, I'm going to do this until it works. And I almost felt that way in the second game of like, no, if I just take enough of these wild ass shots, eventually I'll get hot and start to make them. And, in some respects, I kind of like that mindset, but there's a certain point in the game where you have to go, maybe given how poorly I've been playing lately, tonight is also not my night. Like, this is not the night where I turn it around. And I think this is one thing where, like, Tyus Jones, I think we kind of like underrated him as a player last year. Like, he did more than just set the table. He created a few looks, especially for Kuzma. It just, the he and Poole thing, it didn't really work. And you and I have talked about this together, but like the Poole Kuzma dynamic, they just don't seem to have a ton of chemistry together. So if Poole is point guard, there's nobody kind of like putting Kuzma in the right spots to be successful. And I think a player like him maybe needs somebody to like save him from himself. Get him like 1 or 2 easy looks around the rim. I still like can't understand why you can't do like a Poole Kuzma pick and roll. You could even invert it. Like, any of those things seem like good ways to get both of them engaged and also get easy looks for either of them, because they're probably the two biggest focal points of a scouting report, and you can't leave one of them. So somebody's getting a decent look if you run some kind of two-man game there, but they just truly never do it. And I can't really figure out why.
Yeah, I don't know what the reason for that is, whether it's just a coaching decision or they've tried it and they just can't get the chemistry right on it or something. Because I'm with you. I think that's something that you would think would be not necessarily featured in the playbook, but at least part of it, considering those are your top two options on offense. So I think it would, add a little bit of a different dynamic, considering, I mean, you look at our offensive options and the scheme we're going to be running, it's going to be very, very vanilla and very limited in what we can do just with our personnel. So like, I don't see why something like that shouldn't be on the table. But I mean, I guess to that point, you're talking about the shooting with Kuzma. The one thing that really, I've enjoyed with him coming to Washington was his development as a playmaker.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Thing where I'm kind of like, all right, dude, when your shot's not there, let's see you get other guys involved. Let's maybe see you, get yourself involved by taking it to the rim instead of settling for jumpers and stuff. And it's just, I don't know. He's just kind of been a little all over the place for my liking. And I'm just waiting for that kind of return to form for him, because I know his shooting percentages, even though he's scaled up his role and his opportunities in Washington, his shooting percentages have more or less stayed the same throughout his entire career. So, I mean, with Kuzma, it's kind of like you're getting what you're getting with him. But at the same time, I've seen him lock in and play incredibly well and within his game, using his size, driving to the hoop, aggressive on defense, getting boards, taking stuff up in transition. He's very, very good in transition. That's probably the best part of his game. And
he's a big that can handle and rebound. Like, that's the ultimate grab and go guy.
Yeah. And we're just, we're not seeing that. I mean, and honestly, I would have thought with the absence of Denny, because that's the other guy who was kind of doing the same position or role as him, I thought we'd see more of an expansion of it. And it's just been, it's been falling flat, unfortunately. But, it's like I said, it's still very early. I'm not going to write him off entirely. It's just, it's worth noting because I think it's something that everybody else, and if you're a player, I mean, you're noticing it too, because you have these expectations of what Kuzma brings to the table and what the reality is right now. And it's just, there's a disconnect.
Well, the one thing that'll surely save them is to take less, or to go into the game tonight with less shooting in the starting five, which is what they've chosen to do. They're going Poole, Coulibaly, Kuzma, Sarr, Valanciunas. I don't really get it. I get playing Valanciunas in situations where there's a big that Sarr can't handle by himself, but I just think Sarr is good enough already defensively that he can neutralize Clint Capella. Like, I mean, I'd rather see Valanciunas in the second unit, like banging with someone like a Kongwu or something that, to me has more offensive skill set or versatility there. So I don't really know why they made that choice. DeAndre Hunter is out for the Hawks tonight, so that means you likely see some kind of starting five that revolves around Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella, and someone ? I haven't seen a starting five announced yet, but Bogdanovich is also out. I mean, they're missing a lot of dudes. Okongwu was actually out too. Cody Zeller is out. Like, this is a small team. I don't know. Maybe they think they're just going to like feast on the undersized team, but that's why I'd rather see Valanciunas. He's been like eating up second unit bigs, and his lack of speed does not get as exploited the same way. So I'm just a little confused by the choice here tonight.
I kind of agree, because I really like how the lineups, the game has progressed poorly, but I like how they've come out of the gate with their, and considering you're starting two rookies, you really can't be too mad about that. But I agree. I think it's got to be a personnel decision. Maybe they think they're taking advantage of some kind of mismatch, but I would think Val would be much better suited taking on second unit bigs. And I mean, shoot, give Sarr the opportunity. I mean, that's what this year is about, is going to be developing the young guys and seeing what they can do. If the Hawks are shorthanded, let them start and see what we can do. But yeah, they're probably just trying to get a size advantage, and see how that shakes out, and if they stagger the minutes later on. But that's an interesting change. We'll see how it plays out for them. I
totally missed their game the other night against the Thunder. The Hawks started Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Zachary Risacher, and Clint Capella. So I would imagine that's the starting five again tonight. Maybe there's a world where if they're playing Risacher some at the 4 in that group, I guess it's maybe more Jalen Johnson at the 4, but they're kind of same height, largely interchangeable from that perspective. Maybe we see some Risacher on SAR. And my next question for you is going to be ideal matchup. I'd actually like to see Koulibaly lock up Risacher a decent amount, but my gut is he probably spends the majority of the game on Trae Young.
Yeah, I think that's probably where they're going to put. I mean, I think that's probably the smarter play. I would like to see Koulibaly.
It'd just be fun, yeah.
But maybe we'll get some cool clips of the number 1 and number 2 pick going against each other in an ISO or in a head. That'd be kind of fun. But not for nothing, I'm really, really impressed with how Bub has responded defensively. He's just all effort and all dog. And that's really, what more can you ask for, is just competing.
Yeah.
And he's just really impressed me. And that's where I'm kind of thinking, like, there's a world where I wouldn't hate throwing Bub out on Trae just to give him the exposure, especially if it's something where he is a point guard for us in the future going forward. He's going to get those kind of matchups. And Trae,
sink swim.
Good one to go. But Bilal on Trae, I think that'll be fun. I like that size mismatch. I like the length. But Trae's a very, very, very good player. So I know. Honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to this one. Just with getting to see, I think stylistically the Hawks are so different than so it's going to be a fun one to watch, because like right now, I would say arguably we don't really have a strength, but I would say our strength is our defense. So I would kind of want to see us try and lean into that a bit. And if we can give them a game and compete, awesome. But I also wouldn't be shocked if they just blow the doors off us by the half with their shooting. But we'll see how it progresses.
It'd be the most Wizards thing ever to win a game that we don't expect them to win. So I think, assuming that they might win the next one means they'll probably go out and win by 15 tonight and then get blown out at home. Also, just hilarious for the home fans at this point to just, it'd be funnier if they were better on the road. I don't know. It's not what you would expect from a team that's that rookie heavy, but I'm totally with you. Just let Bub learn on the fly here. This is on the job training this entire year. And you just see how it works out. I mean, going back to Koulibaly, like it worked for him last year to get those matchups in, because I think he's been really good defensively so far this year. He was great last game offensively too, but the defense is as expected. So if you're Bub, like give him as many chances now. Like I want to see Keyshawn George guard Risacher and some of these guys too. I think for SAR, like, the matchup now is Jalen Johnson, who's a really unique, versatile player. So that's different, I think, than a lot of the guys he's guarded thus far. When they've kind of brought him in as a starter, he's, guarded Horford and people like it's just Mobley, or I guess Mobley is fairly versatile, I guess, but Jared Allen some too. Like this one is probably the most wing-oriented 4 he's had to guard so far. So I think this is another really good test for him, and maybe that's why they're doing it too, just to see, how he holds up.
I mean, it could be. He had some really nice, Tatum was just hitting some insane shots over him, but he was playing good defense. And that's going to be the running theme of the year, just giving these guys reps and exposure to the kinds of situations that they're going to see in games. And I mean, the earlier, the better. Let them get their feet wet as early as possible, soak it up, and just learn from it, because there's no better teacher than experience. So, yeah, I think that's probably where they're going to trend with that one. I am kind of interested to see what kind of game we get from Kispert tonight. I feel like he's been a little quiet, especially coming off an extension and a preseason where he was playing pretty well and aggressive.
He ended it strong.
Yeah. So I kind of want to see some of that from him. I don't know how much of that last game was just like, Koulibaly's on one, so let's let Koulibaly do his thing. But there's enough ball to go around that. And Corey's, it's not like he's ball dominant. He can pick his spots well. He can cut. He can get open for 3 and be an outlet. Like I think there's a lot of ways he can be effective without having to have the ball, and we haven't seen much of that this season. So hopefully this is a night where we get a Corey game or something like that. That'd be cool.
It's also a good matchup for him from the sense that like there are guys almost like throughout their lineup that you can hide him on that aren't going to cook him defensively, so he can stay out there a little longer. Like Dyson Daniels has been better offensively this year, but it shouldn't scare you. Like, as a defender, Garrison Matthews is going to get some minutes, same kind of thing. Like David Roddy, like these are guys that are good, but if you're Kispert, like you should at least be able to hold your own against those dudes, or or maybe you shouldn't have gotten the extension you got. Like you have to be able to guard someone. So if you can't survive those kind of matchups, it's just going to be a long next 10 years for you as an NBA player, essentially. So I'm with you. It'd be nice just to see. And I shit talked him a little bit halfway through the preseason because I thought he was being a little too casual. So immediately came back with like a 20-point game. So I think Corey, like, let's do the same thing here. Get in your bag, like, take these guys to the hoop, shoot some threes, let them fly. I think all Wizards fans want to see that.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think it's he has every opportunity to, especially if Kuzma's struggling. Poole's been good. I'm not going to say great, but Poole has been very solid and good for us. So I mean, like, there's an opportunity for someone to step in and get some buckets, and why not you? Why not you, Corey?
Yep. Yeah, like you said, kind of do. All right. Well, give me one other prediction, or doesn't have to be like final score or anything, but like just something you want to see. Somebody you think has a good game other than the guys we just talked about. Is there anyone else you're looking forward to seeing tonight, particularly?
I am, just because he's grown on me, and I thought we lost him when we got him back. I'm always curious to see what Jared Butler can do.
Mm-hmm.
I really like whenever he gets minutes. I think he plays very smart. He's very productive. He's that, it's that cliche of he always makes the right play. But I feel that's what happens when and he's not going to wow you with athleticism. He's not going to be hitting crazy circus shots or step backs on guys because it's not his game. He's just a good, solid point guard. And it's for a team that has lacked solid point guards since maybe like John Wall, or if you want to count Russell Westbrook in there too. It's just nice to see, the ball move, set people up, slowing down and taking your time when there's no point in rushing a shot, just court awareness and situation awareness from your point guard. So I always like seeing Butler, but selfishly, the thing I am most looking forward to is just, can Sarr have a better game than Reza Shea? And I know it doesn't work out that way, but I do kind of just, I'm coming off a day where the Commanders' number 2 overall pick just outperformed the Bears' number 1 overall pick. And I want to,
by the way,
energy for this other Washington franchise because they're in 2 completely different places. So, let's try and get them up here.
Hey, this time last year, we would have been saying that they're almost in the exact same place. So for the Commanders, like, this has been a pretty quick turnaround, which gives me a little hope that if they can get this next draft pick right and these guys pop the way we think they can, maybe the Wizards really aren't that far behind. Granted, I say that coming off of 2 20-plus point losses, but hey, like it only takes one guy and a little maturation from the other guys to kind of make a big deal on a basketball team.
It does, yeah.
Totally with you on the Butler shout out. That's a really good one. I mean, for as many years as we just had like underwhelming backup point guards, that's why I was like reluctant for them to move on from him. Like, we lived through the Shabazz Napier experiment for like, that whole, like, guys like that. Ramon Sessions was like probably the best backup point guard the Wizards had for a decade. So I'm cool with Butler.
Ish was was the guy I threw in there. But no, I mean, and honestly, it got compounded. Like, I've been seeing Jay Huff highlights take over my Twitter, and I'm just like, oh my God. And then I saw a couple Chris Dunn shout outs, right? And it's just one of those things where, we're not the greatest team, but we also can't afford to get rid of productive NBA players. So you see these guys, they're on the fringe of our roster and then go away, and they blossom elsewhere to teams that didn't really need them. It's just an extra luxury. Like, Jaren Jackson Jr. is the center in Memphis, and now they have Jay Huff as well. Like, good for Memphis. I would like to have him, but
I was in a huff about that one. Will nailed it. Had to do it. It was just right there. All right, it's game time. We'll get everybody out of there. Will, thank you for doing this. Looking forward to breaking it down post game. Everybody tune in with us. I think we'll have a more fun post game to talk about here. Fingers crossed.
Let's go.
All right, everybody, you know the drill. Rate, review, subscribe. Click that like button for us on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. And we will check y'all post game. And we're presented by betonline.ag. All right, peace.